Before the events of the series, before recorded history itself, humans lived by hunting and gathering. Throughout the hundreds and thousands of years of evolution, humans developed and evolved to survive. They developed fears to protect them, fears of falling from great heights and fears of the unknown, the darkness, and death itself. But what humans didn't know was that these fears slowly manifested themselves into physical forms. Deep below the Earth's surface, below reality itself, lies another world known as Hell. This is where those fears live and breathe, and eventually humans would learn to fear this world too. Primal fear devils are confined to this place, but every so often they're let out. The devils that reside here have never witnessed death. They are the strongest devils, those with the names of fears that are deeply embedded in the psyche of all humans. Very little is known about the Darkness Devil's personality or inner motivations, which only adds to his ominous presence. It rarely, if ever, speaks, choosing instead to act through silence and overwhelming power. Despite this silence, however, it is not mindless. It has shown signs of high intelligence and the capacity for abstract reasoning. This is demonstrated most clearly by the fact that it is capable of forming contracts with humans, which, in the context of Chainsaw Man, suggests at least a basic level of mutual understanding and negotiation. That said, the Darkness Devil reacts violently, without hesitation, to anything it perceives as a threat. It does not discriminate in its aggression and launches into attack with brutal efficiency, making it incredibly dangerous to approach or engage. In terms of abilities, the full extent of the Darkness Devil's powers remain largely unknown. However, the abilities it has demonstrated are both awe-inspiring and horrifying. Its immense healing factor allows it to recover from virtually any injury as long as it remains in the darkness, making it incredibly difficult to kill or even injure for long. The speed and effectiveness of this regeneration far surpasses most other devils, allowing it to sustain consciousness without fatigue or degradation. One of its signature abilities is the Blade of Darkness, a massive, dark blade adorned with bells on the hilt. The weapon is not only physically formidable, but also operates under telekinetic control, allowing the Darkness Devil to wield it with terrifying precision without even lifting a hand. The eerie sound of the bells often accompanies its assaults, creating a chilling atmosphere before the actual violence begins. In addition, it possesses darkness manipulation, which enables it to control and utilize the darkness around it in ways not fully understood, likely allowing it to bend the environment to its will or enhancing its healing. Lastly, as a devil, it holds the power of devil manifestation, meaning it can manifest in the real world or hell, depending on circumstances involving fear, summoning, or contracts. The Darkness Devil makes its first terrifying appearance when Denji and several other devil hunters and assassins are suddenly transported into hell by the Hell Devil. This already disorientating and otherworldly setting becomes even more horrifying when a mysterious door appears high above them in the sky. From this door, the Darkness Devil emerges without warning, descending like a divine executioner. Without speaking a word or displaying any emotion, it immediately attacks the group with devastating efficiency, severing all of their arms in a single, calculated strike. What's particularly disturbing is that it doesn't just injure them for the sake of violence. It repurposes their severed arms to spell out the word Makima in an abstract and ritualistic manner. This bizarre act hints at a deeper knowledge or connection between the Darkness Devil and Makima, suggesting that she may be involved in events far more intricate and sinister than we previously imagined. The message formed from dismembered limbs implies that Makima is not just another devil hunter or antagonist. She may be intertwined with cosmic, eternal forces in ways no one yet fully understands. A powerful, otherworldly being that embodies the primal fear of falling, a sensation intrinsically tied to anxiety, instability, and the terror of losing control. Unlike typical devils who originate from more specific or recent cultural fears, the falling devil is believed to be another primal devil, meaning it represents a fundamental fear shared across all of humanity, deeply encoded into the human subconscious. The fear of falling is among the earliest and most instinctual responses, one that predates language and rational thought. Because of this, the falling devil is not just powerful, it is a symbol of psychological descent, emotional collapse, and existential dread. It doesn't simply cause people to fall physically, it drags them down mentally and emotionally, destabilizing them from the inside out. Unlike many devils that are driven by chaotic or bestial impulses, the fallen devil carries itself with a disturbing sense of composure and theatrical elegance. It is often polite and eerily calm, even when committing acts of horror, speaking in formal, ritualistic language that contrasts sharply with the chaos it unleashes. This mannered behavior is more unsettling as it treats its horrifying acts not as violence, but as art, or worse, as a form of service. It refers to its itself as a chef and often speaks in a culinary metaphors, stating that it is preparing a dish of human suffering for an unseen audience, possibly the residents of hell or higher devils. This presentation as a servant or herald rather than a tyrant suggests that the fallen devil is not acting alone. Fulfilling the will of greater unknown forces, the fallen devil possesses a truly horrifying and complex array of abilities, which it uses not only to fight, but to emotionally and psychologically break its enemies. Its most devastating power is the ability to force individuals to relive their most traumatic and painful memories, causing them to descend emotionally and sometimes literally into despair. Victims affected by this power often become immobilized, weep uncontrollably, or lose the will to fight. In many cases, they are so overtaken by the overwhelming grief or regret dredged up from their past that they begin to levitate upwards, as if being drawn by a spiritual and emotional fall. This inverse gravity effect, ironically, making people rise as a metaphor for falling, adds to the surreal horror of the experience. This is part of the fallen devil's grotesque culinary theme. It views human suffering as a form of flavor or seasoning, and it prepares meals based on the emotional state of its victims. The stronger and deeper the emotions, the more potent the ingredients become. This thematic consistency, treating battle as performance art, trauma as cuisine, makes the fallen devil not only terrifying, but philosophically disturbing, as it frames pain as an aesthetic experience. Its gravity manipulation is another powerful ability. The fallen devil can reverse gravity at will for objects or individuals in a localized space, flinging opponents helplessly into the air or suspending them in place. This power is not only disorientating in combat, but psychologically unnerving, creating a sense of vertigo and helplessness. Victims find themselves thrown into ceilings crushed by the shifting pull of invisible forces, or left floating, unable to orient themselves as they are assaulted or psychologically broken. The fallen devil is also highly durable and capable of rapid regeneration. Despite being attacked multiple times, it shows the ability to reconstruct its body quickly, treating its regeneration as little more than an inconvenience, like a chef brushing off a spilled ingredient. Perhaps the most unsettling of all the fallen devil's abilities is to sow discord and amplify emotional instability within groups. Its presence alone seems to heighten existing emotional fractures, especially among vulnerable individuals. Those with repressed guilt, trauma, or internal conflict are particularly susceptible. It does not merely kill, it orchestrates collapses, drawing out emotional breakdowns and feeding off the resulting turmoil. When the fallen devil appears in Chainsaw Man, it descends quite literally from above, emerging upside down, walking on the ceiling of hell, as if gravity itself bends to its will. Its entrance is theatrical and symbolic, reinforcing its role as a performer and tormentor. The way it targets humans, especially those burdened by mental or emotional pain, reveals a deeper cruelty that doesn't just want to destroy bodies, it wants to unravel souls. The exact limit of its power is unknown, but its performances during its arc suggest that the fallen devil is one of the most dangerous devils to ever manifest. It blends psychological manipulation, gravitational warfare, and near immortality with a twisted philosophy that turns pain into art. More than a monster, it's a mirror to the worst parts of human condition. Embodying the primal fear of aging, not merely the passage of time, but the decay, loss, and the inevitability that comes with growing old. It represents the fear of deterioration, both physical and mental, the body growing weak, and the mind losing itself to time. Among humanity's most ancient and universal anxieties, the fear of aging lingers quietly behind every mirror and birthday candle. In Chainsaw Man, this existential dread would take the form of the aging devil, an entity not of rage or chaos, but of quiet, patient entropy. Unlike devils of violence or bloodlust, the aging devil would not need to scream or lash out to assert its terror. It would be calm, deliberate, and detached. Much like time itself, it would be a primal devil, born of a fear so deeply embedded in human consciousness that it requires no language or culture to exist. To age is to watch yourself fall apart day by day. To lose time is to die by degrees. The aging devil is that process personified. The aging devil's abilities would be among the most subtle and insidious of all in hell. Its primary power would be accelerating aging, the ability to rapidly age anything it touches or targets. This could affect humans, devils, or even physical objects. A weapon might rust and crumble into dust in its hands. A young hunter might feel the body grow weak, their skin wrinkle, their mind fog, or their bones crack in a matter of seconds. Entire groups of devil hunters would be reduced to helplessness, withered away husks without a single blow being struck. Worse still, the damage would not be physical. Victims would experience the psychological toll of a lifetime lived in an instant. Regret, bitterness, exhaustion, all compressed into a single unbearable moment. The aging devil would also induce temporal regression, causing targets to revert to their earlier stages of life. An experienced fighter could find themselves mentally returned to childhood, confused and frightened, unable to comprehend what is happening. This inversion of time is especially cruel, as it robs the victim of their identity, maturity, and resolve, turning them into emotional infants even as they face their doom. Another terrifying aspect of its power could be the time distortion fields, where it manipulates the flow of time in localized areas. In these zones, time might speed up or slow down, or loop endlessly. It might trap a victim in a single moment of trauma, forcing them to relive a death, a failure, or a betrayal for what feels like an eternity. For others, it could slow time to a crawl, forcing them to endure their suffering in agonizing real time while the rest of the world passes them by. It is unlikely that the aging devil would be a brute force combatant. Instead, it would act like a living entropy engine, wearing down its enemies, slowly breaking their bodies and minds. Not with violence, but with inevitability. Just being near it might cause clocks to shatter, calendars to burn, and even powerful devils to feel a strange, creeping dread. But even devils born from fear must wonder what happens when even time forgets them. In contrast to the erratic behavior of many devils, the aging devil would likely be eerily composed, perhaps even sympathetic in its tone. It might speak to its victims like a doctor, delivering a terminal diagnosis, or a historian, chronicling at the end of an era. And its message is always the same: everything decays and everyone is forgotten. The full extent of the aging devil's strength would be impossible to measure. It would not rely on brute force or flashy displays of power. It would simply outlast, outweight, and outwear every opponent. It could potentially be immortal in a deeper philosophical sense, not just surviving damage, but transcending it, as age cannot be reversed by simple violence. To defeat the aging devil, one would need more than strength. It would need a defiance of time itself. In a narrative context, the aging devil could serve as a symbol of futility, existential dread, and humanity's desperate struggle against its own impermanence. It would not merely be a monster, but a metaphor with teeth. But these aren't just threats in a battle, they're metaphors for losing control, losing time, losing yourself. Unlike other devils, born from cultural or situational fears, primal devils are timeless. You can't outgrow them, you can't rationalize them away. They live in the shadows of our instincts, reminding us that no matter how strong a character becomes, there are fears even Chainsaw Man can't chainsaw through, and that's what makes them unforgettable. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and comment, and make sure to follow for more.